Proceeding to our next discussion for the day. In the rapidly advancing realm of diagnostics, the integration of smart solutions stands as a beacon illuminating the path to tomorrow's healthcare landscape. And so, I would like to introduce you to our second panel, which dives into cutting-edge innovations and seamless technology integration in the realm of healthcare industry. Smart solutions for tomorrow, transforming diagnostics with tech innovation, accreditation, and standardization. Now, I'm excited to call out the speakers for this panel on the stage. Dr. Shivali Ehlawat, Director, Technical Operations, OnQuest Laboratories. Dr. Akar Kapoor, CEO and Lead Medical Advisor, City X-ray and Scan Clinic, Founder and Partner, City Imaging and Clinical Labs. Dr. Prashant Nag, Vice President, Diagnostics, Tata 1mg. Mr. Arpan Malhotra, Director and Chief Operating Officer, Max Lab. Ms. Anu Moturi, CEO, Kriya Group of Companies. I now request all the speakers to join us on stage. Can we please have a huge round of applause for our panelists? Ms. Anu will be leading this panel as the session moderator. Over to you, Ms. Anu.
Hello, everybody. Privileged to be here amongst such inspiring leaders in the realm of diagnostics. Thank you, Voice of Health, for giving me this opportunity. Truly an honor. I'd like to say that, gosh, I think this panel has a very tough act to follow. Right from what Dr. Fadke, Dr. Shah, Dr. Gaurang, Gautam, the way they set the tone for the day, so eloquently sharing the genesis of diagnostics over the last 4 decades in India, going from fragmented hub and spoke to decentralized in the context of hub and spoke, and how we're evolving now to delivering personalized medicine at patient bedside, powered by point of care and companion diagnostics. So, wow, that was very eye-opening. Thank you very much. I would like to start by introducing myself before I go to the panel, just so you know who's standing here and speaking. I'm an entrepreneur, and I can very much relate to what Dr. Shah was sharing and what Dr. Vazirani was sharing, where after 3 decades in the US, I'm an engineer. I came back to India to invest in India and start a manufacturing, start engineering R&D and manufacturing of medical diagnostics and devices. Boy, has it been a hard decade. But it has been truly a fantastic journey so far. And I really have to take a page from Dr. Vasirani's book, inspired by his leadership. And, you know, I can completely relate to Happy Country Powered by Healthy People, because we in Kriya, our vision is delivering good health for all, powered by solutions for diagnostics and devices. So enough said about me. I think I'd like to take this opportunity and request each one of the panel members first to introduce themselves. I'd like to call upon Dr. Shivali Ehlawat, right from your side. Please introduce yourself.
A very good afternoon to all. I'm Dr. Shivali Elawat. I'm the Director of Technical Operations at Onquest Laboratories Limited. So Onquest started as a research lab in 2001, and thereafter it developed a niche for itself in the oncology and super specialized space. Over the years, of course, we have expanded into the entire realm, and now we have a pan-India diagnostic network. Our strong points, I would say, would be our R&D facility, the innovations we are able to bring in, our central control over all the labs, and our ability to bring out customized assays for our clients. By background, I'm a pathologist, so I'm an MD DNB in pathology, and I was into technical reporting. I was the technical HOD for one of the specialized departments in the initial years. Then over the years, I have taken over management responsibilities also, and right now I am overlooking the laboratory operations for our pan-India labs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alawat. Dr. Kapoor?
Hi, my name is Dr. Akar Kapoor. I am the CEO and lead medical advisor at City X-ray and Scan Clinic Private Limited. So the center was started by my parents, Dr. Ravi and Dr. Sunita Kapoor, who are radiologist and pathologist respectively. My mother is a lead NABL assessor. I am the second generation who joined my organization 7 years ago. I'm a MD radiology, and I have huge passion for radiology. And also I'm looking after the administration, the business expansion, and the growth of my organization. We have more than 15 collection centers across Delhi NCR and have multiple HLM models being part of renowned nursing homes and hospitals in our area. And I am keen, I'm part of a lot of research projects with different multinational companies, reputed institutes, and have multiple journals in reputed papers in reputed and national and international journals. I also myself perform interventional radiological procedures and have special skills in CT coronary angiography. My vision is to expand my organization beyond the borders, and we've recently started operations in the states of Punjab and Haryana. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kapoor. Over to you, Dr. Nag.
Hi, I'm Dr. Prashant Nag. I'm pathologist by training and qualification and presently looking after diagnostics division for Tata 1mg.
Okay.
That was pretty quick, Dr. Nag. So, hi everyone, I'm Arpan. I am a director, CEO at Max Lab. Max Lab, a little bit of flavor. So, present in more than 40 cities, over close to 50 labs, in operation for more than 8 years. And this is part of the Max Healthcare Group, which we all know of. About myself, the first thing is I'm not a doctor, unlike the other three panelists.
Me neither. So you're in good company.
Thank you. Thanks for not being a doctor. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I also did ACCA UK. Then I spent 5 years KPMG, 13 years in Siemens. In that stint, I was CFO for India Diagnostics. Then I became the CEO for India Diagnostics. And here I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's I'm looking forward to a very dynamic discussion because this is truly an interesting panel that's a mix of new age diagnostics businesses and also legacy businesses that have been around for more than 2 to 3 decades. So welcome to this panel, and let's get it started. The first question I'd like to direct to Dr. Alawat. As someone who's deeply involved in technical operations at Onquest Labs, how do you see the industry addressing the challenge of standardizing reference ranges for novel biomarkers in the face of increasing complexity of diagnostic tests? And what role does collaboration play between laboratories in the standardization process? Because I understand that you have a lot of, you're a specialty lab, right? You guys actually cater to the niche market. So that, I'm sure, is, you have a lot of learnings.
So yeah, thanks, Anu. That's a very pertinent question in the current context. So OnQuest, like I mentioned, we have, obviously being a specialty lab, we have a very well-developed R&D facility for development of esoteric biomarkers and complex, technical molecular assays for various areas, oncology, pharmacogenomics, genetics, infectious diseases. Now, any biomarker, before being introduced into clinical testing, has to undergo a detailed validation, which includes its precision testing, both intra-assay and inter-assay, accuracy, the range of measurement, what we call the AMR, the reference range, and stability testing. If it's a more complex assay, even the analytical sensitivity and specificity. So there are a lot of parameters, but yes, regarding the reference range, if we just talk about that, there are basically two approaches that a lab can adopt. So the more common approach is that if there is a prior reference range given by the manufacturer in their kit or in published literature, so there is an external RI that is available, the lab can just adopt that by a verification study. So here, the population that they would need to study would be much lesser. However, there are a few points that they would need to still consider. Firstly, if they are taking it from a published literature, the analytical part. Their method should be comparable. The population which they are feeding, that population should be similar to that of the RI, and of course the pre-analytical factors have to be similar. The patient preparation, transportation, and everything. Now, coming to the second part, that is, in case the lab has to establish its own RI for whatever reason, it's not available, it's a novel biomarker, it's a research product, so we need to do that for clinical trials. There are certain biomarkers for which the reference range is not established. Then how should the lab go about it? And that definitely is more challenging for the lab and for the industry. So here what is done is that obviously you need a much larger population database. And now the challenges come in. That population database, not only do you need the numbers, you need the numbers between the subcompartments. So for any analyte, you would have, compartmentalization age-wise, gender-wise. So getting adequate number of samples within each compartment and the population that you are studying, that you are recruiting, it should be comparable to the population that is going to be tested. So it cannot just be your employees. If you want to, open that parameter pan-India, you want to test it at pan-India level, your reference range should include individuals from pan-India. And that is where the role of collaboration between laboratories comes in. So either if you have your laboratories elsewhere, yes, you can include them. But it would really help if multiple labs or multiple centers can recruit population. You would get a much more robust and reliable reference range. Now here again, if we go in for multi-center or multiple labs, there are at least 3 points, 3 preconditions that will have to be fulfilled. Firstly, now because you are dealing with a much more heterogeneous centers, there has to be a central reference method. So we'll consider one method to be the reference. The other methods, either all the labs are doing by exactly the same method, or their methods should be traceable to this central reference method. So that's the second point. And the third point, again, is that whatever population you are studying, yes, that should be representative. And in addition, all the labs will have to follow one common protocol for the RI, whether it is their inclusion, exclusion criteria, the statistics, the analytics, everything. So that way it is much better if, it is coordinated by some kind of central organization. In fact, recently only the ICMR, they have taken out a task force for the establishment of reference ranges in the Indian population. So it was something which was really warranted, really required. They seem to have heard our prayers, and they have made a task force for this, for which they are recruiting institutes from pan-India. So there I feel that these challenges would be addressed to a very large extent. Another related scenario, if we talk about specialized testing, is, for example, if you want to introduce a specialized molecular biomarker. So there, the reference range by itself is not that important because it's a qualitative or a semi-quantitative assay. But what becomes a challenge is getting adequate number of samples of that particular diseased population. So it might be a rare disease, it might be some kind of cancer. And here again, collaboration between labs can help in providing the samples, or if we can have a central repository or a central body from where these positive control samples can be provided, that would help at the level at the national level. We do have it internationally, they are commercially available, but yes, if we have it in India itself, it would help us to a greater extent for the specialized analytes. So that is how I would sum it up. Basically, any esoteric biomarker or molecular test, any new test that is introduced, it has to go through a detailed validation, which would include, if possible, collaboration between laboratories for these particular parts. So like the establishment of the reference range or provision of samples for, rare diseases or the esoteric markers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Just a quick follow-on question. Do you feel that the ICMR task force, one of the outcomes that you would expect is standardization of the protocol? Because you said it would be good for all of these labs to actually come up, have a protocol that is common and standardized, so then it becomes very,
So definitely that is the criteria, among the criteria that the ICMR has kept. So first of all, in the initial stages itself, they will establish a standard protocol that has to be followed by all the institutes. There will be certain criteria on the basis of which the institutes can be recruited. They have to be NABL accredited laboratories. They have to have well-developed R&D facilities, principal investigators, everything. So everything will be properly coordinated and as per standardized methods.
okay, so actually accreditation plays a part in this as well, which goes hand in hand with how we evolve for smart diagnostics. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next question is for Dr. Akar Kapoor. As an advocate for technological integration, how has AI, artificial intelligence, been specifically utilized in city X-ray and scan clinics, diagnostic processes? And part two of the question is, what measurable impacts have you observed in terms of efficiency and accuracy from incorporating this artificial intelligence into your processes?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, in an integrated diagnostic center like ours, where we have radiology, pathology, cardio, as well as neurodiagnostics, along with nuclear medicine, we use AI thickly in all departments. Talking about radiology, which is my core competence, in imaging, we are using AI since a long time. So there used to be a time when my technician used to spend like more than 24 hours in post-processing of a coronary angiography. The vessels are wrapped around the heart, and he used to try to straighten the arteries and find the degree of stenosis accurately. So now with the help of these AI tools, we can very accurately do post-processing with the click of a button. It significantly helps in reducing the images, which are essential for the radiologist to make the reports. That is one. So for all the patients who are symptomatic, who are having chest pain or acute emergencies, these small things which drastically reduce the time are of essence. Even there are a lot of inter-observer variability when we do percentage stenosis. If I again talk about coronaries, so we have tools which are accurately measuring these stenosis. So the reports are more standardized, and automatically the entire report is generated. In MR also, we do a lot of musculoskeletal imaging where we can do cartilage mapping. And with the help of these biochemical content of the cartilage, we can assess and diagnose early osteoarthritis. So young patients frequently come to us with pain in the knee joint or a particular joint, and we can do this MR cartogram and predict early outcomes. we are also doing a lot of corporate health checks where most of the cases are normals, which we use tools which can segregate the normals. So it drastically helps us reporting these scans faster, and we can cater to larger volumes. So we have a dedicated fetal medicine department where there is huge volume, and these ultrasounds of the fetuses are time consuming. So when we just keep the probe on the fetus, with one sweep, all the measurements are calculated with the help of these machines. So it drastically reduces scan time and improves the accuracy. Also, in times of COVID, when we all faced those times when patients were just like, they came at the reception and they just wanted a report as soon as the scan was done. We used tools which automatically generated the reports. Of course, they were cross-validated by the clinician, the radiologist on duty, and the percentage, the CT severity score was accurately calculated, and automatic reports were also generated. We recently cross-validated a tool for generative AI because we are also doing tele-reporting. So a lot of these radiologists, they are not in the center, they prefer working from home or even are present in remote areas. So they can just dictate the reports on the microphone, and very accurately with multiple checks, these reports are typed, and even multiple checkpoints are there. So like the other day, I was reporting a thyroid scan, and by mistake I said pyrids. So the software automatically corrected it to tyrids. It knew that I am talking about thyroid. So these latest tools are extremely competent, and we just finished that. One more thing, another thing, like in laboratory, like a small example, like, basic test like a CBC. So we have a machine which has MP flag. So if, recently, like everybody's talking about malaria elimination. So if we want to cater to bulk volumes, we need machines like these where rather than the pathologist making the slide and the smear, the highlighters can be made as to this sample is positive for a malaria. So these are the AI tools that we frequently use, and we feel that to sum up the tools that we are using, they have significantly reduced the turnaround time, increased the operational efficiency, and also there is reduced inter-observer variability, especially talking about the radiology aspect, and eventually benefits the patients as well as the clinicians.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kapoor. Actually, I have a follow-on question for you. When you talked about, I'm not a doctor, so pardon me if there's a faux pas. When you talked about the angiography and the stenosis, recently as last week, I had a very dear friend of mine, actually in Tirunelveli, who had right coronary stenosis, yeah? And severe chest pain, and they had to actually do the angiography and to scan it, angiography, and then they decided to move him to Madurai, okay? And they wanted a second opinion from somebody in Madurai and from Chennai. And what's interesting to me is, with all the technology that we have today, the technician or the doctor could not figure out how to send the image to either Madurai or to Chennai. So how do you contend with this, especially with telemedicine? And you want to, all the tools that you have, I mean, we're trying to solve for the accessibility problem, correct? So we can take it down to the last mile, and we're able to deliver quick turnaround time with the type of efficiency that these tools provide us. So do you come across challenges like that, and how do you actually solve for that?
So we frequently get patients from outstation, similarly, like, who have to show to the doctor in the evening and have a flight to catch. So two things, like with the help of these tools, we can, the post-processing, since it's become faster, we can generate these scans on the CDs as well as the films much faster than we used to do. So instead of giving a time for tomorrow, we usually ask the patients to wait for an hour and probably take those CDs. Suppose if a doctor or elsewhere someone else wants to access these images and have another opinion, then online also through like we can transfer the images and it can be made accessible to other parts as well.
Right. So the question that I had was, yes, we got it on a CD, but virtually a CD reader is not available these days. And the technician nor the doctor could follow the protocol to send it by email.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you'd come across challenges like that, and how would you address that?
So, like we have different centers also, and across there we have PACS system incorporated.
Okay.
So through PACS also we can transfer these images, and these images can be made accessible to other parts very conveniently.
Okay. Okay.
By the help of a robust IT team, it can be easily done.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you for that response. Thank you so much. The next question is for Dr. Nag. Could you please share your insights into how Tata 1mg ensures scale-up of the standardization of diagnostic procedures across its extensive network, and how advancements in automation contribute to standardization?
Thanks for the question. So previously, also we were discussing how standardization for research is happening, how standardization for essays are happening. Then we were discussing how AI can. You were talking of, can that image go? Yes, that image can go. Only thing is adaptability on the technology on the both side. So what all is there? Why that image was not read by in Chennai? Because probably standardization was not there. If there would have been a standardization of software, that image is there, very much there, but that CD cannot be read over there because probably that software is not standardized being used over there. So let's try to understand that standardization is the basic key. When you standardize a process, that process goes into how the tasks in it can get integrate and give the desirable quality outcome in the desired time and place. So that will solve all the reach problems, the quality problems and everything. So whenever we look the whole supply chain of diagnostics in that manner, that we have to solve it for the accessibility, for the quality, and definitely the most important is standardized in a standardized manner, we get the desired outcome. We have to have the metrics of service levels, the quality, the finance metrics to be monitored, to be generated in an automated manner. So I'm just giving the, why I'm talking in general right now, because see, automation, digitalization, or robotics, these are the tools of technology. The beauty of technology is difficult only for the creator. For the user, it has to be simple. So if these automation, digitalization, robotics are being standardized and used in a manner across, that it is user-friendly, you ought to create a system which is scalable. So if you talk about how we look at it in Tata 1mg, we see to it that whatever processes we are making, they should be centralized, they should be monitored centrally, controlled centrally, but should be able to act in a hyper-local manner. They can be monitored remotely. Just to give you an example, suppose we are proud of our sample collection module. So how it works is that we have a real-time temperature monitoring, as there was a previous discussion also, how to manage quality of samples. We all know we are all working in a pathology field, and in pathology the biggest problem is pre-analytical. Pre-analytical can be as low as, because of the temperature controls, can be as bad as the training thing that Dr. Shah mentioned in the morning, that if pathologist is not doing the right grossing, that is a pre-analytical error at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you are not feeding the right slide to the system, they will not give the right diagnosis. Similarly, if you are doing a molecular test, you are doing a somatic mutation screening, and if you are not taking the right cut, if you will ask your digital microscope might be trained for diagnosing the cancer, but may not be rightly trained to diagnose the slide which has the highest cancer cells density, which is required for the sequencing. It may take a slide, a section, which is high necrosis. So a diagnosis of cancer can be made, but if I want to screen the mutation on that, it is not possible. So why I'm taking these different examples from today's discussion is that standardization is, if we standardize the things, we're taking all the use cases, and then we plan our scale, it is bound to get to a quality scale. If we miss this in the very thing, then in the retro, we get into we miss this quality because probably this was technical. I feel if we lay down the right technical things in the starting when we are designing our standards, we are bound to get a good scaled quality network. So that is how I look at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next question is for Arpan. How does Max Labs leverage technological advancements in your diagnostics labs to derive actionable insights, and how are these insights translated into improved patient care and operational efficiencies, especially since you guys are integrated with the hospital, right, the hospital network? So how does that translation work, and what have you, I mean, how have you actually organized yourself around this?
Thanks, Anu. See, at Max Lab, I'll split it into, let's say, two parts on the technological advancements. One is a very conscious attempt to have high-end specialty tests done in-house, and to such an extent that, the TAT really comes down. The prescribing or the clinicians are able to get a FaceTime, speak to the fraternity of the doctors who are doing tests themselves. And that's kind of a targeted, unique advantage that we leveraged on. When you take for example, pharmacogenomics,
Yeah.
Which is exactly what's needed for precision medicine.
Yep.
Or it's the transplant immunology. I mean, for tacrolimus, we have converted everything onto a 4-hour TET. Using LCMS or using a digital PCR. So the intent is very clear that now we bring it to a stage where even the samples from other countries come in, and we are able to do if not all, then most of it in-house.
Okay.
Now, sticking to this particular, the first part, I mean, while we do it on the technology and the machines and we also created a data lake, so to say, so that these, the network of hospital doctors, their past experience, that gets used, and it's not restricted to some individuals. It gets translated into interpreting these, let's say, notorious cases, God forbid, if they were to come again. So that's one part, which is high-end specialty. And the other part is, I would call it patient centricity. So the entire value chain, from the first point of contact with a patient up to the point where the report is given, a feedback is taken. We're leveraging IT very strongly to an extent that it becomes online real time. So each and every activity of, including the pre-analytic, the samples coming in, the temperature maintained, the TAT given, how happy or not so happy the patient felt, which is the second part. So we kind of moved in both directions simultaneously.
Great, thank you for that response. I'd like to now move to the next segment of our discussion, which is common questions to the panelists, and looking forward to a very dynamic discussion here. The first question I'd like to ask is, I'm sure from listening to what Mr. Vazirani had said, they're building a state-of-the-art facility that is fully automated and involves technology. And honestly, at CREA, we've moved in the direction of Industry 4.0, which is fully automated and getting the complete operational efficiencies in order to churn out 420 million either test kits or devices in a year. So similar to that, I'm sorry, I'm an engineer, so I have to ask you this question. Especially when you're building to scale, I would imagine that this is something that you really want to see, where you're churning out the tests with great, with the TAT that's, the TAT as well as with precision, right? So do you think that with all the technological advances and implementation of smart labs, would you say we're moving towards Diagnostics 2.0? And what is your vision for Diagnostics 2.0 in India? I think I'll start from the far end with Arpan. Since you just finished, maybe you could start.
keep it quick looking at the timeline.
Yep.
So for India, Diagnostics 2.0, I mean, I would have at least 3 wishes, if I may call it so. First is the coverage and the penetration, in the sense, how many people choose to get a diagnostic test done on the wellness side, and how many who are prescribed by doctors manage to get it done in time as well. Yeah, so the coverage, and that has to be significantly higher. And one of the reports says that in India, one person gets 1.1 tests done every year. US does 20, Australia does 10, somewhere Latin America does 5 something. I'm not saying we chase as much, we don't have insurance here, but at least, something that's more beneficial. So that's one. The second is awareness. If anybody is choosing to get let's say a full body check or something, how do they decide which test to get done? Is it like, kadkad ki awaaz aa rahi hai, so vitamin D kara lein? Or is there, some sanity that after 45 years, this test every 6 months needs to be done? Some more awareness and guidelines. And I'll stop there.
Okay. Over to you, Dr. Nag.
So, being a pathologist had a small journey of around 15, 18 years. Diagnostic 2.0 is definitely, undoubtedly, we all are facing and we are enjoying it. There might be different cuts which everyone is looking at. Someone is looking at it as doctor-driven pathology versus organized or corporate player. Someone is looking at as predictive, preventive pathology versus diagnostic pathology. Someone is looking at it as insurance-driven versus non-insurance-driven. I personally feel these are all channels. We should look at as diagnostics as a whole is really moving at a very good level, whether it is at ease of testing, whether it is precision of testing, whether it is catalog or menu of testing. If we talk of ease of testing, right now the collection devices have moved a way along. Genetic testings we are doing directly from saliva, non-invasive collections, tumor markers. Proteomics is going a way ahead. Genomics is going a way ahead. With NIPT, you are testing the fetus genetics from the mother's sample. So the way diagnosis is getting deep and getting integrated with the clinical science, although financial numbers will say it will just contribute to 3 to 4% of the whole healthcare part, but it is effectively affecting the 70 to 80% of the clinical part. So yes, Diagnostic 2.0 is here, and it is something which everyone who is in the field of pathology, whether from the manufacturer side, IVD side, from the person who is performing, whether the doctor, everyone is bound to go and enjoy this phase, and I am really excited for this phase.
Great, thank you. Over to you.
I feel that definitely the diagnostics has undergone a significant shift, especially after the COVID era, and with multiple players coming in, especially like the non-doctor driven pathology labs, multiple chains that have come in. But the only thing I wish that everyone should keep in mind is the quality at which that diagnostic facility is being provided. That quality comes at a significant cost for the patient. When you look at the patient as a whole, if that quality reduces, the patient's entire cost of that disease or that mortality and morbidity is directly affected. So quality is something that must be kept in mind. Secondly, all the healthcare providers that are providing facilities should be open to these disruptive AI tools, as well as incorporating them in their systems to provide healthcare and at an affordable price, and also make it accessible to other parts of the country where it is genuinely required.
Thank you.
So I would just add on to what the earlier speakers have said. So starting from Arpan, I agree with him. When we talk about India, in the Indian context, yes, diagnostics too is already started. It is coming. It is very exciting. But since we are such a fragmented market, we have so many contrasts, there is still some catch-up that we have to do in Diagnostics 1, which is very important and which we know that we are largely an unorganized sector. So consolidation and organizing of that, of the bigger corporate chains and lab chains to ensure quality of services to the last mile. That is important. That is one part which is still pending for us in Diagnostics 1. Along with that, of course, we would have the automation, the efficiency, precision, everything coming in. Now coming to the Diagnostics 2, the smart labs where we have all the integrated, lab systems, equipments, devices, the remote monitoring. I think the data integration and analytics part. The remote monitoring, it's not just of the doctor or the scientist monitoring the device at home from the lab. It is also important that the central lab is able to monitor the work that is being done in the satellite labs, what Dr. Prashant had also mentioned. So there definitely, while we have all these softwares, whether it's the logistics, the LIS, everything, it is essential that we have the API integration to an analytics, a BI software or something, where sitting in the central system, we are able to closely monitor live what is going on in each lab, whether it's the sample registrations, what is the TAT, are there any amended reports, what are the problem samples, are the critical callouts going out. So similar to that, the analytics and getting meaningful insights from that, I think that would be very important in the Indian context, considering, the kind of challenges we have in terms of remote areas, accessibility and logistics.
Yeah. Oh, well said, well said.
Thank you.
Great summary here. I will wrap it up with one last question for today for this panel. Great segue into the question about data-driven insights, honestly, Dr. Alawat, where as today's diagnostics, being that we're moving into the Diagnostics 2.0 era, we rely more and more on data-driven insights, right? I mean, as you rightly said, the analytics around it becomes very important. And there's also another aspect of this, which is how can the industry, what kind of strategies can the industry employ to address the concerns related to ensuring medical chain of custody of the samples, right? Which is a real challenge. I mean, I think, Dr. Nag, you touched upon it slightly, a little bit, just on the temperature monitoring aspect, but really it's the end-to-end. Being a pre-analytics manufacturer, I am so vested in making sure, right, to solve for cost, quality, and time. To the point that we've actually developed solutions for this, but ensuring medical chain of custody of the samples, data privacy, which is a big deal these days, right? I mean, when you have all of these different solution providers, IT solution providers, who holds the data? Who's going to own the data, right? And what can you let them see? What can you not let them see, right? Coming from the States where HIPAA compliance is a big deal. I would say security around that and ethical use of patient data in the era of interconnected healthcare systems. I mean, how do you address the concerns around this? So I think I will start with Dr. Nag here, and maybe then we'll just finish it up.
So both for the samples as well as for data, the integrity of chain, how to make it secure is something very, very important and has to be system driven. So first touching about the samples, we need to have a very, very clear barcoded chain, and we need to keep it anonymous till the level we can. So that is the most important part when we are dealing with samples. And obviously, I'm not going into right now the analysis related integrity of the sample. That is a different whole thing where we temperature, logistics, timing for different samples, how to be segregated. Those are different things. But yes, on the basis of security of samples and data, like in data, we use bigger words like encryption, access, those things goes for samples also. What all can be accessed where, what can be given for the research, how can we make the research ethical. See, it's not just about making it ethical, it is also making it right. Because if you'll not hold it in the right way, you will miss the inclusion and exclusion criteria. And if you'll miss the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the very process of research will go non-standardized and will have a poorer results. So yes, standardization of sample sharing as well as data sharing has to be very, very strong. It's really, I take pity at times that in India, we don't have very strong compliance when it comes to diagnostics. If we come with a strong compliance on diagnostics, these things are bound to come on compliance, that how you keep your samples, how you dispose your samples, how you share your samples for research. Similarly, there has to be something on data also. There are very many guidelines, but they are not so, I would say, they are not so imposed of right now in the ecosystem. There are good labs are following them, but I think that is something which should be in place.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you just a quick follow-up. As a new age business, right, that always looks at how can we use third-party aggregators, right, for the sample collection. How does that work in terms of interoperability of data and data privacy? How do you do that?
So there are two aspects regarding data management. One is that we have our own labs, and one is we started as an aggregator business, and we were collecting samples for other labs like top of the labs. There also we were very, very clear that order, whenever the patient is booking, one is transparency and one is holding anonymity. So it was very, very clear to the patient that your lab is, you are getting tested from this lab and your report will come from that lab only. And whole data integration was such that same report will flow directly. There is no holding of report at the platform level. Similarly, for the sample also, sample was pre-printed barcodes were used. It was not post-printing barcodes. So with pre-printed barcode, you can address the anonymity concern. So this is how it works if you're talking specific of how a platform should work when it is working as an aggregator.
Thank you. That was very insightful. Over to you, Arpan.
So I'll only talk about data privacy.
Yeah.
And I'll keep it short. See, I think the context for us needs to change. We need to very dearly accept that it's here. It's needed, long time it's here. Couple of years back, there was a data breach at Singapore. You know, some ID data got leaked. And that hospital situation was such that even phones were not allowed for quite a while. I know recently Google has been stopped from using third-party cookies. So what do?
Yep.
Is billions of revenue going to get hived off? I don't think so.
Yep.
So they have put their head down and said, okay, this was needed. We will come up with a topic of topics.
Yep.
So it will still happen, isn't it? So let's brace up for that. It's needed. That's all I'd say.
Exactly. Thank you. Dr. Kapoor?
Want to highlight that we need to increase public awareness amongst people that about the same issue, and also that multiple internal audits need to take place at various levels, checkpoints, so that we can ensure that there is no breach of data. These are the 2 points which I want to highlight.
Thank you. And finally, I think it's your turn to wrap it up. You started, now you can wrap it up, Dr. Alawat.
So I think most of the panelists have, they've covered most of the points. So by and large, it is important that any healthcare organization, if it is dealing with the digital data, it is their responsibility to ensure the privacy of that data, and there should not be any breach. And they should follow the most stringent measures possible. So, I mean, from everything, of course, it's access control, isolation of your networks, updation, your passwords, two-step authentication, the employee training. I think that is, again, one very important point.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So the training of the employees on the risks of cybersecurity, and in case there is a breach, how should they handle it? So by and large, all those things, yes, it is very important, and it is important that it is implemented honestly by all healthcare organizations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Time to wrap up this very interesting discussion. So thank you, panelists, for wholehearted participation and for really sharing your thoughts and for providing thought leadership to this amazing audience here. So once again, it's been a privilege. Thank you so much. And thank you, Voice for Health.
Excuse me, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
As the topic is about smart solutions.
Sorry?
As the topic is about smart solutions,
Yeah?
I want to ask the panelists, are they using any smart wearables or smart accessories in their innovation or in their organization regarding all these work? Smart wearables or smart accessories are you people are using regarding to the patients?
I mean, if the question is on the patients using the smart wearables for their monitoring,
Yeah, I think that's what he asked.
yeah. I mean, while it, kind of hurts the lab business, yeah, but I think it's a good thing. It's gonna be here to stay, and I think the use is increasing. It's increasing a lot. I mean, Apple got into trouble for that blood oxygen monitoring, but that was for a different reason. I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. It's gonna increase. I don't see any other way that it's gonna go.
Yep.
And I'll just add, see, wearables are, it is really a very good thing. I was having a discussion with a fellow cardiologist. He said, although I'm getting 90% false alarms for high heart rate, but at least I'm able to contribute at least to 10% more patients now preventively. So when you talk of HRA, health risk assessment, pathology is just one part of it. Wearables is a totally a different thing which will add a lot to the value in overall staging or giving a number to your health. So health risk assessment is something where wearables will have a long role to play.
Thank you. Are we good? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for the informative session. I'd like to thank Ms. Anu for wonderfully leading the discussion. I would request you all to please come forward for the felicitation ceremony, and I would request Ms. Anu to felicitate her co-panelists. Dr. Shivali Ehlawat. Dr. Akar Kapoor. Dr. Prashant Nag. Mr. Arpan Malhotra. I would now request Ms. Pinky Cheher to felicitate Ms. Anu. Ms. Anu Motari. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? I now request everyone to please come to the center of the stage for a group picture.